Well, no, I think the popular ways of thinking about it are almost okay. I mean, I would make slight changes to the popular ways of thinking about it that come out of some relativistic considerations. But the error that I keep railing against is not in the popular conception at all. It's in a bunch of philosophers and a bunch of physicists who I think are confused. And that's just very simple, which is that time has a direction. Time is a directed kind of thing. It only goes one way, right? It goes from the past toward the future, and space just has no corresponding directionality to it, right? Space doesn't go from the east to the right. There's a formal technical property that a dynamics can have that goes under the name time reversal invariance. Then there's a very bad inference which says if the fundamental physics is time reversal invariant, then according to fundamental physics there's no direction of time. And part of that is because the name time reversal invariance is also bad. It's just misleading. Here's an easy way to see it. So here's a feature that physics could have. It turns out not to have it as a matter of fact, but it could have, which is called parity invariance, or mirror reflection invariance. And if you want to say what that means, it's kind of intuitively you say, okay, somebody sets up an experiment in a lab, and they get some result, some physical result comes out of the setup. And then you say, well, could you run that experiment, a kind of mirror image of that experiment? So, and you would understand what was meant. I mean, literally, if you're going to do it from ground up, where you're using right-handed screws, use left-handed screws, or set up a mirror in your lab, and you have this mirror image. Now build the lab on the other side of the mirror, so that if you look through a window, it looks just like the mirror image, right? And then do the whole setup that way, and then ask, okay, will the actual outcome of the experiment similarly be the mirror image of the outcome of the original experiment? Okay. If it is, then this thing has it has a certain symmetry called parity, spatial parity. Now, the thing to note is if you ask a physicist to do that, right, build me a parity reversed setup, they know what to do. But if you just go to a physicist who just ran an experiment and now you say, can you run that experiment reversing time, or can you run that experiment backwards in time, or something like that? Well, what the world are you talking about? I mean, how am I supposed to do that, right? You can't reverse time. That's just not among the powers that you have. Now, there are things you can reverse. What you can reverse are time derivatives, like a velocity,
Right.
So you say, oh, look, here's something that's easy to do. In this experiment, I had a particle moving this way. Its velocity was this way. Okay, now do it, except the velocity is now spatially reversed.
Right.
But what you're reversing isn't time. I mean, time is still going forward, right? What you're reversing are time derivatives. So that can be done. But the fact, if it were a fact that the reversed experiment gave you the reversed outcome, that wouldn't at all tend to show that time doesn't have a direction.